54% of Americans spend more than they earn every single month. Not because they're broke. Not because the economy is crushing them. Because nobody ever taught them where the ceiling was. And without a ceiling, spending just keeps climbing. Silently, gradually, until one day you look at your bank account and wonder where 20 years of paychecks actually went. That's what we're getting into. Not budgeting tips. Not cutting your coffee. The actual mental framework that separates people who build real, permanent financial freedom from people who stay on the hamster wheel for the rest of their lives. No matter how much they earn. Here's the number that should stop you cold. The average American now carries $105,056 in total consumer debt. The average monthly debt payment in 2025 hit $1,237. That's not a mortgage. That's the price of owning too much life. Cars, furniture, subscriptions, stuff, all of it financed, all of it bleeding cash every single month, and most of it barely noticed. Meanwhile, 37% of Americans grew their monthly spending in 2024. Only 32% saw any income growth. Third year in a row spending has outrun income. 3 years in a row. The gap isn't closing. It's widening. And the most dangerous part is that most people doing this feel completely normal because everyone around them is doing the exact same thing. So let's break the cycle. The rules, not restrictions, not punishments. The actual rules that let you build a life where money stops being a source of stress and starts being a source of options. The first thing you need to understand is your enough number. Most people have never calculated it. They've planned vacations more carefully than they've planned their financial ceiling. Your enough number is the single most powerful calculation you can run for your future. And it takes about 10 minutes. Here's how it works. Look at your actual monthly spending, not what you think you spend, what you actually spend. Americans average $273 per month on subscriptions, but when asked to guess, they say $111. That's a $160 gap every single month on subscriptions alone. And 54% of people carry at least one paid subscription they never use. Not rarely. Never. The money just leaves every month and nobody notices. Take your real monthly number. Multiply it by 12. That's your annual lifestyle cost. Multiply that by 25. That's your enough number, the nest egg that, using the 4% rule, can cover your lifestyle indefinitely without you ever needing to work again. Run the math on 2 scenarios and watch what happens. A household spending $4,000 a month needs a $1.2 million nest egg to retire. Same household, same family, trims to $3,000 a month, the target drops to $900,000. A $300,000 difference in the finish line. For most people, that $300,000 gap equals an entire decade of working. 10 years. A decade of your life, your mornings, your freedom, gone, because nobody ever showed you that cutting $1,000 a month could cost you 10 years. That is the math of minimalism. Nothing to do with frugality. Here's where most people get it wrong. Minimalism and frugality are not the same thing. Frugality is restriction, saying no to things you want, grinding through discomfort, measuring every dollar like it might escape. Minimalism is intention, deciding what you actually want your life to look like, then spending exactly enough to build that life, and nothing more. A minimalist can spend $200 on dinner and feel completely at peace, because that dinner is a deliberate valued choice. A frugalist might agonize over $12 guacamole. The difference isn't the dollar amount. It's the relationship with the spending. Minimalists spend on what matters. They stop spending on what doesn't. And here's what they stop spending on: the slow, invisible costs of owning too much. Storage, maintenance, insurance replacement cycles. Americans burn up to $5,400 per year on impulse purchases. Not planned purchases, not deliberate ones, impulse. That's $450 a month that shows up in your house, lives there for a while, then moves into a storage unit. A $44 billion per year storage unit industry. Let that land. Americans pay $44 billion annually to store things they bought but don't have room for. Paid once to acquire, then paid again just to keep. Every object you own has a hidden cost attached to it. The kayak that needs a roof rack, the guest bedroom furniture that needs dusting, the second car that needs insurance, registration, and oil changes. Minimalism isn't about living on a mattress on the floor. It's about being honest. Does this object actually earn its place in my life, or is it expensive dead weight? When you start asking that seriously, something shifts. You stop buying things that can't answer yes right away. The money that used to vanish into gadgets, clothes worn twice, gym memberships only used in January, stays in your account instead. Then it goes to work. Now let's talk about the thing that quietly wrecks every raise you've ever gotten. Lifestyle inflation, the single most reliable wealth killer in America, and it runs in broad daylight. Nobody hides it. People brag about it. We got a bigger place. I upgraded the car. We do 2 vacations now. Watch what's actually happening. You get a $10,000 raise. Feels like progress. But then the apartment gets upgraded, $400 more a month. New car payment because you deserve it, $350 more a month. Eating out more because you're earning more, $300 more a month. That's $1,050 a month in new spending. $12,600 a year. You got a $10,000 raise and you're now spending more than you gained. Net progress, negative. And you feel like you got a reward. Income growth alone has never built wealth. Not once. The research on lottery winners proves it. So does the data on professional athletes. 78% of NFL players are broke or under financial stress within 2 years of retiring, despite earning millions. Income without a ceiling is just a faster treadmill. The people who actually hit financial freedom, doing it in their 40s, their late 30s, sometimes earlier, they're not all pulling in $300,000 a year. Many earn solidly middle-class incomes. What they do differently is save 50 to 75% of their gross income. Compare that to the typical American saving 10 to 15%. That gap, compounded over 10 or 15 years, is the difference between freedom and a 40-year career. To save 50 to 75%, you need a lifestyle that costs far less than your income, which means you need a ceiling, which means you need your enough number. You see how it all connects. Here's something that rarely gets said. Minimalism carries a measurable psychological benefit on top of the financial one. A study published in Science Direct found that minimalism directly improves financial well-being and happiness, not as a side effect, as the primary outcome. It cuts financial stress. Lower financial stress unlocks sharper decision-making. When you're not anxious about money, you make better investments, smarter career moves, better long-term calls across the board. The mental weight of owning and managing too much is real, and it costs you in ways that never show up on a spreadsheet. The research on experiences versus possessions points the same way. Lasting happiness, the kind that compounds over time rather than spiking and fading, comes from experiences far more than from things. A new car feels incredible for about 3 months. The road trip you took with your best friend 10 years ago still comes up in conversation. Experiences age into memories, stuff ages into clutter. Build your spending around that, not as a sacrifice, as a deliberate upgrade. When you shift spending from possessions to experiences and cut the cost of maintaining things you don't actually use, you pull more satisfaction from less money. The math gets better. The life gets better. Both at once. So what does any of this look like day to day? A handful of rules that actually stick, not because they're clever, but because they target the exact patterns that keep people financially stuck. Rule 1. Audit your recurring spending every 90 days. Not once a year. Every 90 days. Subscriptions drift. Habits change. Services you used 3 months ago you don't touch now. A 90-day audit takes 20 minutes and almost always uncovers money you're paying for nothing. Most people find $50 to $150 right away. Over a year, that's $600 to $1,800, just from paying attention to what you're already bleeding. Rule 2. Hold a 72-hour rule on any non-essential purchase over $100. Drop it in a cart. Set a reminder for 3 days. Come back. Research on impulse buying shows the urge peaks within the first few hours of exposure, then drops hard over 72 hours. Most purchases you were ready to make on the spot feel completely optional 3 days later. Some still feel worth it. Buy those without guilt. The ones driven by impulse, boredom, or status anxiety. Most of them disappear on their own. Rule 3. Split every income increase. Half goes to lifestyle upgrades if you want. Half moves directly to investments or debt before it ever touches your checking account. Automate it. Money that lands in your account feels available. Money that moves before you see it feels like it was never there. Use that psychology. Lifestyle inflation can only happen to money you can see. Rule 4. Own the number. Know your monthly spending to the dollar. Know your annual lifestyle cost. Know your enough number. Most people can't name these figures within $500. When you don't know your number, every spending decision happens in a vacuum, cut off from the actual goal. When you know the number, every dollar either moves you toward it or doesn't. The call becomes clear. Rule 5. Run a possessions audit once a year. Walk through your home, storage included, and ask honestly, what didn't I touch in the last 12 months? Sell it, donate it, remove it. Every item that leaves stops costing you in insurance, storage, and the mental overhead of ownership. Whatever you make selling it, even at a fraction of purchase price, goes straight to your investment account. None of these rules demand more income, no side hustle, no promotion, no market windfall required. Just clarity about what you're buying with your time, your money, and your attention. Permanent financial freedom isn't a number in an account. It's a life where you've matched your actual desires to an actual cost, then built the engine to cover that cost without punching a clock. The minimalist framework gets you there faster, not by making you earn more, but by making the destination smaller, closer, and reachable on what you already have. The math on a smaller target is always the shortest path. Most people never take it because nobody showed them the numbers. Now you've seen them. Here's what I want you to sit with. What would your life actually look like if you hit your enough number and stopped? Not retirement in the traditional sense, just the point where work became optional. What would you do with a Tuesday morning that belonged entirely to you? Most people have never seriously pictured it, because it never felt real enough to picture. It's real. The math is there. The question is whether you build a life around reaching it or keep spin past it without ever noticing. Drop your enough number in the comments. Or, if you haven't calculated it yet, tell me what's stopping you. I read every single one. If this hit differently than you expected, hit the like button. It genuinely helps more people find this. Share it with one person in your life who needs to hear it, because the person this is most useful for is usually the one who never goes looking. And make sure you're subscribed, because the next video goes inside the specific investment vehicles that turn your enough number from a goal into a date on the calendar. And most people have no idea they have access to them. The ceiling isn't a limit, it's a finish line. Build for it.